in Bed's Hearts and Bucks. Could you live without your phone? It's because Robbie Williams has said, him of the pop star fame, the man who landed the pop star's job, I believe, he hasn't had a mobile phone since 2006. So he's never had a smartphone, never had an iPhone because they didn't launch till 2007. Elton John has said he's never, in the past, he's not had a mobile phone either. I made the point earlier on that as celebrities, they have an entourage who can look after their bits and pieces anyway, so they don't necessarily need to do things like that. But could you live without your mobile phone? Well, Martin Talks is founder of Digital Detoxing and joins me on the phone this afternoon. I asked my caller in the last hour, Martin, the same question. Are we speaking to you on a mobile or a landline?
You are speaking to me on a landline.
Well, that's a start then.
Yeah, but I do have a mobile phone, I have to say. I think when one's thinking about the situations where people are trying to break up with their smartphones, I think there is another way, there's another route, which is forming just a healthier relationship with one's smartphones. So that's really what I would advocate. And
what do we mean by that? You knew I was going to ask that.
Of course. Well, I think it's one of the questions to ask oneself is who's in control, the phone or you? Do you leap at any sort of buzz or ring, or do you interrupt conversations? Do you interrupt your train of thought or what you're doing just because you think some alert's gone off? That would suggest the phone's in control. So I think just assessing one's relationship with technology is always a good thing. I mean, one of the things I do is I take people on digital detoxing adventures, as I call them, where literally I take away all their technology, including their watches, by the way, and we over a period of a couple of days, we literally do a series of activities where you don't have your phone, you can't rely on your phone, and what people find is, after the initial period of despair and panic, is that they get this enormous sense of relaxing, of like a deep breath of fresh air, that a lot of people call it, because suddenly they're noticing a layer of stress being removed from them. And I'm not suggesting you can do that all the time, but I think occasional reappraisal of one's relationship by doing a couple of days without your phone is a good thing.
And how quickly does the de-stressing happen? And with these people that you take on these adventures, do you find that within 2 weeks they're back texting as much as ever?
That is always the danger, isn't it? Because all it can be is a kickstart. And to be honest, it does take a day for people to really settle down. It's interesting because we're so used to sort of worrying about what people who aren't with us are doing, what other people might think, even complete strangers, that having that just not having that pressure takes a little while to settle down in oneself. But what we also do is we get people to write themselves a letter at the end of this experience saying, these are the things I've discovered, these are the things I'm going to do. And I post it to them a couple of months after the adventure as a reminder, just to try and help. But, I mean, there are a bunch of other things one could do. We try and encourage people to bring a little digital detoxing into their lives. So, for instance, don't take your phone into your bedroom. Let's, if we're talking relationships, bedroom's an important place. Don't take your phone in there. If you're going to buy any present this Christmas, buy someone a sort of normal analog alarm clock. Because as soon as you reach your phone because you might want to check the time or you're setting your alarm, you disappear down the rabbit hole of social media, and it doesn't help. It doesn't help your mindset or your ability to relax. So
I make no comment as someone who who sometimes has two phones next to his bed.
Oh, yeah. It's a common issue, but I think you can also take it further than that. You can delete social media apps off one's phone because although Robbie Williams says he doesn't have a mobile phone, he says he spends a lot of time on a computer. And as you say, he's got, our phones are pretty much our PAs, aren't they, these days? And he's got a human PA, so lucky him. Probably got several. But I think, you can do things like deleting your social media apps off the phone. So if you want to refer to them, go to your computer, which is generally speaking people don't have with them all the time like they do their phones. So that's a good idea, I think, as well. But you can also, I think, map your day. You can say, where do I have my energy? When am I most productive and creative? So, for instance, I'm quite a morning person, I'd say. Mm-hmm. So in those times, I don't look at my phone. I put my phone away, put it in a drawer, out of sight, because I don't want to be interrupted by the thought of what's going on my phone. And then when my energy levels go down a bit, typically after lunch, that's a good time to get on the phone and catch up on the latest posts and maybe, respond to people. So I think you could do that as well. So you can bring a little bit of the digital detoxing into your daily life and build new habits. It's all about habits, isn't it? We're in a habit of every time there's a down moment, we get our phone out and have a look at it. We're on the loo, we're queuing for a coffee, we're waiting for transport. We just automatically get our phone out, almost as, I don't know, it's just to fill the time.
And of course,
but if we can break that habit, it's very useful.
And of course, certain phones, certainly my work phone, which I won't mention the brand, but I'm sure people would guess what it might be, has a thing on it that says how much time you've used the phone every week, which ironically you have to look at the phone to find out.
There is some irony to that, isn't there? I think it is interesting as well to sort of quantify one's behaviour on the phone. But I think when people begin to reappraise or rebalance that relationship with their phone, they do see the benefits. They are a little bit more productive. They are a bit more creative. They are generally happier and actually better looking as well. How about that? Is that a good sell?
Can we put little asterisks on top of that one to say that we do not have the proof that you'll be better looking for not looking at your phone? But I see where you're going with that, Matt. I think it's interesting because I have, and I talk about this quite a lot on the radio, I have problems with my mental health. So I went through a spell 4 or 5 years ago where I went off social media, even on the computer, for about 3 or 4 weeks. And it did make a difference. But while we were talking, I've been thinking about, could I live without my mobile phone now? And because of work, and especially because I'm normally the station's political reporter, you kind of feel that if you're not on your phone for 10 minutes, you're going to miss an MP doing something. Not that they're MPs at the moment, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I do. Yeah.
So it is difficult. You can see how people do get so tied to this. But what's your advice to someone who they're in a situation where maybe they've looked at their phone and they've said, "Oh wow, I'm on the phone for 36 hours a week," or something like that? What would you say to them? How can they go cold turkey for just a little bit?
Well, I think they can literally do a digital detoxing. They can take a sort of digital Sabbath once a week and put the phone away and just say, "I'm not going to do it." And if they can have digital detoxing buddies, people who are in it with them, there is always a nice bit of support to that. If more than one of you is doing it, I think that sort of helps. And just monitor the difference that makes, how you reappraise the relationship. And as I say, if you build in little things like keeping it out of your bedroom and deleting the social media apps off your phone and those sort of things, they can help as well. But one thing I would add to that is, we have to remember that the phone is currently the device of choice, but we're only at the beginning of a lot of changes that digital technology is bringing in. With the advent of sensors that are able to sort of track us at all times and give us feedback via various wearable technologies. All these different technologies are developing very fast. So we are at a fortunate stage of being able to find the off switch on our phone. But, in the future, it's going to be harder. So I think this is a good time to be really trying to get that relationship right and making sure that we're making the right decisions on that front, because it isn't going to get any easier.
I've got, for some reason, the Terminator theme tune in my head as you're talking there. Martin, it's been a pleasure to chat to you this afternoon. Thanks very much for your time.
No problem at all.
So, could you live without your mobile phone?